This primary election next week has a few changes, and some advocates are recommending voters make a plan.
The nonprofit says new rules are more likely to affect people with a disability.
Local 12's Christian Hauser joins us live from the Hamilton County Board of Elections with more on those changes. Hey, Christian.
Good morning, everyone. The nonprofit group Disability Rights Ohio wants folks with disabilities to know their rights when it comes to casting a ballot in Ohio. Now, they're worried that the significant changes to Ohio's voting requirements could mean that some people will not be able to cast a ballot. In fact, yesterday was the deadline to request an absentee ballot. Now, some of the voting changes include requiring a government-issued photo ID to vote in person. Now, the timeline for absentee voting has also changed. For elections going forward, you must request that absentee ballot 7 days before an election. Now, you used to be able to request it up to the Saturday before an election. Now, those mail-in ballots must be postmarked the day before that election, but now they must be received within 4 days of the election. Now, because of these changes, Disability Rights Ohio wants to remind folks to plan your vote. Executive Director Kirsten Schoberg says that because they may not drive, a good number of folks with disabilities may not have a driver's license. She also worries about voters who are in nursing facilities or other long-term care settings where they're unable to get an ID.
Many people with disabilities who don't drive are not going to necessarily have easy access to transportation all the time. They may have transportation for medical appointments, maybe even to work if they are fortunate to have that kind of support. They may rely solely on public transportation. And if they need accessible transportation, like if they use a wheelchair, that limits it even further. So those are some of the reasons why it could be challenging for a person with a disability to get a photo ID.
Now, Schoberg says it's even more difficult for folks who live in a care facility to find that transportation to get a license or other ID to vote, so they will be forced to rely on absentee voting. Meanwhile, the polls will be open from 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. on Election Day. Now, early in-person voting runs until this Sunday. Live at the Hamilton County Board of Elections in Norwood, I'm Christian Hauser.
Thank you, Christian. We have a link to the Ohio Secretary of State's website, which has information on what's on ballots next Tuesday. Just open the Local 12 News app and click on the primary voting article.